Hey guys, Andrew here from Media World 1, back with a double review for the X-Files Return series, episode 4, Home Again, and the new current episode, episode 5, Babylon. I didn't get a chance to review last week's episode. In fact, I was just busy at the time, and so I've got a chance to talk about that very briefly and talk about the latest episode. And it's quite ironic, both episodes kind of fall into this kind of double review which I'm doing, because I honestly believe, I'm going to say straight off the bat, that they're probably the weakest episodes of the series so far. I'm going to go into this. I'm going to start with episode 4, Home Again, which is last week's episode, which featured a kind of like a creepy kind of, setup with this idea of the trash man and a personal kind of tragedy within kind of Scully's life. The episode concept of the story narrative in that one was the idea of this kind of a person that was taking out certain people that were like kind of like the homeless were kind of like getting like thrown away from place to place kind of thing. They had nowhere to go, and it's the idea of this trash man, this person is is their savior. Is kind of there in existence, and he's there to kind of protect them, and he is kind of shown through kind of different variations, like on paintings, things like that, kind of street artwork, gang kind of thing, and basically these kind of very nasty, kind of vicious kind of kills where he literally rips people apart. He's going after certain people that don't want, these homeless people that are kind of high and mighty. You got the police officer, you got this kind of snoozy kind of housewife, kind of rich, upper class housewife who doesn't want it next to her children, quote unquote, kind of thing, and you got kind of the politician, things like that in it. So you got some ideas what's going on in that episode, and the premise of that actual creepy idea, this kind of tall figure, this kind of trash man, this kind of on the streets, very, very good idea, and mixed with the episode also with the idea of a personal tragedy that happens in Scully's life, which I won't get too much into because obviously for spoiler reasons. But it's quite an effective and quite well handled part of the episode. My problem with it, the two kind of subplots don't gel well together. If you remember talking about the second episode itself, the Founder's Mutation, that was a really good mix between them dealing with the loss of William and this idea of investigating this kind of case. That managed to gel their ideas together. They're back on the case, and they got a kind of strange kind of mutations and experimentations going on, while mixing with themes that works for them personal tragedy. This episode 4, Home Again, doesn't really gel well together. It kind of like the actual when this actual trash on this actual kind of person, this kind of tall man figure, there is some good scenes of him in it, but the execution in it and the reasons for it are pretty lame, to be perfectly honest. It could have been a very strong, very satisfying episode, much similar to like the Candyman kind of thing, Toby Todd type thing. I just think it's kind of half-assed, done, very weak explanation. Reminds me of season 9 kind of explanation. It's just a one quick answer what it was, and of course the episode tries to link in what's going on with that case into what's going on with Scully and her personal tragedy, and leading into kind of Mulder and Scully's kind of ultimate relationship by the end of the episode itself. I just think, if you're going to do an episode about personal tragedy in Scully, don't make a really cool premise for an actual monster, a pretty cool supernatural kind of monster in a sense, and kind of just don't really pay much attention, because it wasn't paying much attention to. Like, it opened pretty good, opened pretty strong. Mulder was pretty strong in it, and they didn't go anywhere with it. It was just kind of half-assed. It wasn't really well done, but the second half of the story with Scully stuff was good enough to make the episode good as a whole. But as the overall package, I think it could have been a lot better, and I think Home Again was definitely one of the weakest episodes of the entire series so far. That's my opinions on that episode itself. Episode 5, Babylon, is the latest episode of the series, and of course one episode away from the season finale, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. Again, very similar to last week's episode, was a better episode, I would say, straight away. The idea of the episode is that you got these kind of Islamic kind of terrorist group going on around kind of like Texan, you got this kind of Texan event, cowboy event going on, and they're basically sacrificing themselves for their gods and their beliefs. And the episode does feature themes about religion, the idea of words can be powerful, like the Bible, or like sacrificing yourself for this sort of, a naive kind of greater good in a sense. The episode themes around religion and the idea of words and the idea of how powerful they can be, where they're going with it, and adding this kind of underlying supernatural theme that Mulder was trying to get across, and was interesting enough. But I thought the episode itself, in terms of the negatives, I'm going to say straight away, I just think the tone was completely off. Considering we had some good comedy moments in the episode itself, really funny ones, you can't do that when you have a quite dark moment. I mean, unless you're fucking Sam Raimi or sort of Quentin Tarantino kind of esque in a sense, it's hard to pull off. And I think the episode itself did feature some really good ideas. I liked the idea that these two new FBI agents that are kind of, go to the X-Files, and one called Miller, one called Einstein, very kind of doppelgangers, very similar-esque to kind of Mulder and Scully in a sense, very fresh off the academy kind of FBI agents, and one's a believer, one's a skeptic, very similar. That's a funny joke, I can see where they're going with that, and the way they play upon it within the extra episode itself is really well done. I think it's really funny. Especially when Mulder teams up with Einstein and Miller teams up with Scully and things like that. Some pretty strong ideas, and the comedy there speaks for itself pretty much in terms of their views, and of course they learn some. Problem with it is that they didn't really do enough with it. Like Scully and Miller kind of team up within the actual episode itself, and it continues on from some of the themes that happened with the last episode, Home Again, which I thought was going to be interesting, but they never really play and do much with it in a sense. They're kind of there just to kind of be there, and by the wrap up of it, they kind of say everyone had a part to play, but I really don't think they did. I thought Scully was going to have some sort of a good emotional connection inside that could bounce off really well from Home Again to what happened to her in that episode, because there's certain little things, little references and things like that. But she unfortunately didn't do much, which is a bit a shame, because I really like Scully, and the Miller character I think had some moments where he had some good dialogue moments here and there, but ultimately didn't do that much really. Again, you had this Homeland Security kind of edge, which I felt could have played a lot more into something else, but again, really didn't do much. Again, it's just like with Mulder, he wants to use this kind of magic mushroom pill thing to access this kind of realm between reality and the afterlife, which is a cool premise. I mean, if on paper it's basically saying Mulder wants to somehow tap into that world between life and death somehow, I wouldn't have expected him to say a magic mushroom pretty much, or a magic pill of some kind. It's just a bit... The stuff when he's high is funny, yes. I mean, you had this really funny sequence where he's a rodeo, things like that, and you've seen people here and there kind of thing. That's really funny. If you're going to do a light-hearted kind of kind of comedy bits in it, fair enough, that stuff was alright. I think they could have used it better in the episode, or paced it better, because that scene happened just before quite a dark scene where basically a nurse was about to kill the surviving terrorist that was them trying to access and trying to get information from to stop these further attacks. And dark, very dark, the nurse actually tried to fucking kill him, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, that's interesting. Where's this? And they kind of ignore it in a sense, and it's like, holy shit. I mean, I can get the point of, but you can't do a dark scene like that and then jump to a Mulder being high, which is just a bit, it doesn't work gel-wise kind of thing. This episode features the returning character, the Lone Goodman, which I was really pumped for, because the advertisements and the actual promos and things like that, and the things I've seen, was highly suggesting they were going to come back, and I thought they would come back in a big way. Shamefully, they kind of, again, just didn't really use it that much. Like, they were sort of just there in the actual kind of, a sequence when he's kind of just high practically, and while it's funny, they didn't actually just use them, they're just sort of just there, and I just felt it was a bit of a shame, to be honest. I mean, I can understand them coming back just for the fun and giggles kind of thing. Hey, you're free, come back guys, let's have a bit of fun, But I think they could have used them better. I don't know if it was just me or not, kind of thing. I was a little disappointed with the fact they didn't use the Lone Gunman return better. I just think that it could have been a very interesting sequence maybe, but I don't know. He's talked to Ghost before at the end of season 9 with Krycek and Deep Throat throughout the seasons. Why can't he have a full conversation with Lone Gunman, kind of thing, have a good final goodbye send-off kind of thing maybe, but I don't know, I think it could have been better personally. So the themes of the episode are there. I think the ideas are really there and clear. I just think the way the episode was put together could have been a lot stronger and a lot better. I think the way that Mulder could have tapped into that idea of the idea of life and death kind of thing could have been better. But you know, it was an entertaining episode. It was better than last week, so I'm definitely for sure home again. And I just think it just could have been a stronger episode for what it was. The potential was there, especially with having these two FBI agents. I think the characters themselves were interesting, even though they were sort of cardboard cutouts of the Mulder and Scully themselves, which is obviously a deliberate kind of trope kind of thing. But I hope they come back in a future kind of series, maybe future content. Maybe they could use them more, identify their backgrounds and characters more. I think, again, more welcome characters to the X-Files universe is always welcome. You know, I like Doggett and all these other characters from the past season. So if they can use them effectively and give them their own backstories and, you know, challenge, you know, Mulder and Scully and, you know, bring something to the table a bit more than they did in this episode, because they sort of hinted that in the kind of the wrap-up in a sense, but I think they could have done it better personally. So yeah. Final rating and verdict for Home Again would be a 2 out of 5, and you know, for the reasons I just said. Great premise for the actual creepy monster or the supernatural creature monster kind of thing. Great premise for the actual kind of like this idea of the trash man, him taking out the trash in a sense, and it's quite cool. It's a great premise, just completely half-assed, not really much attention focused on it, weak explanation for it, and just kind of forgotten by the end of the episode. The stuff with Scully and the relationship between she had in her personal tragedy, and then that links into William and Mulder and things like that, was quite good, and that was what saved the episode pretty much. So my final vote and rating for episode 5 Babylon is going to be a 2.5 out of 5. I think the episode does have its really good moments, its comedy-esque moments, but it doesn't gel well with the dark themes that are happening in it. The actual overall package, the overall theme they were trying to get across is very similar to the way it was addressed and done within last week's episode. The idea of, you know, religious themes, the idea everyone has the idea of words and powerful, how they can be. Everybody swallows a pill in the sense of the metaphor in that. And, you know, I think there's some good character moments within Mulder and Scully. I think the new two FBI agents were a welcome addition. I liked them for what they were. And I just think the way they could have gone about it could have been stronger. I think they could have set up a few hints here and there to next week's episode, the finale episode. So that's been my review for episode 5 Babylon and Home Again episode 4. Hope you enjoy watching this review. What do you think of these two episodes? I think they're probably the weakest episodes of the series so far. That's my personal opinion. What do you think? Do you get a lot more out of it, this episode? What do you think of the series so far? One episode left until next week's finale, which I am seriously pumped for. Hopefully the episode will deliver big time. I'm curious to see how they're going to end it on the series and where they're going to go from there to point on. You know, is it going to be a series, going to be a movie? I'd love to know. So in the meantime, Andrew from Movie from Game TV, signing out.